So I don't know if it's illegal to make videos while one's driving. I haven't Googled that yet. But I think we're allowed to talk while driving, and I'm just talking to myself, so it doesn't seem problematic. The only trouble is I can't use the GPS, and I have no idea where I'm going. So this morning I finally got a reply about the complaint letter I put in about my psych ward stay of April 2016. And as expected, it wasn't quite satisfactory. They talked about how it was okay for me to be on Seroquel because I was on Seroquel before in previous hospitalizations. Well, in previous hospitalizations, I was on quick release Seroquel, maximum maybe 100 milligrams a day, because they have the 25 milligram tablets. And this time, the doctor put me on slow release and was tapering me up to 800 milligrams a day. So my complaint wasn't Seroquel, it was the type of Seroquel and putting me on such a high dose that I was intended to be on it for a long period of time. They don't put you on 800 milligrams just to be on it for a week. So the other doctor put me on those small tablets, and I was off of them by the time I left the psych ward 8 to 10 days later. I wasn't going to be off of the Seroquel at 800 milligrams when I left. I was going to be drugged up like a zombie. So they completely missed the point on that one. And there were other points in there too, and maybe I'll talk about them later, but for the most part, reading it just made me feel a little bit angry because they didn't really get it, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because they haven't been through that, so they don't know, and it's their medical training, so they think, oh, this is just fine. But I know from my own experience, it's not fine. And it just made me actually more resolved to come off these medications and say sayonara to that whole system. And so I'll probably reply to somebody and say, that's not really satisfactory, but I didn't really expect anything satisfactory, so whatever. The best I can do is get myself off these drugs, and that would be the biggest win, and then be able to say, hey, I'm not taking this crap anymore, and maybe help people see that they can do the same if they want to. So that's the biggest important thing right now, is coming off the meds. And I met up with my brain twin yesterday, and he was saying to me that I should release my videos because I have a lot of good content and I could be helping people by releasing them, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know if this is going to help anyone, but I feel like it will help someone if I'm able to come off the meds, and I don't necessarily want to put it out there until I'm off the meds and speaking from that point, or have failed to come off the meds and something or other, but I just need a little more time. But the good news is that I spoke to Hardy Nutritionals this morning, and I told them that last night I had a bit of trouble sleeping, in that I woke up partway through the night and I was half asleep, half awake, but I couldn't quite wake up to maybe get up and go pee, but then I was just laying there for what felt like hours. And then somebody commented this morning that I looked tired. So that was last night. And the night before, when I was falling asleep, I felt again like I was too far into sleep, yet not really sleeping, and I was aware that there was some scary, afraid of death stuff going on. Some of the stuff that might wake me up and I would feel scared and have that sort of energetic, terrified reaction. And so I told them about that, and they said that I had a few good days, more so than before, and I haven't really gone into the bad days, but I've had 2 nights that aren't the best sleeps. So they suggested that I go down another 1/8 of my medication, and maybe now is a good time to start trying to go down in the dosage amount faster. So I also ordered a product they have called essential aminos or something like that, and she said that might help with sleep. So that should be here by Wednesday, and I'm going to start taking that and seeing how that helps with sleep, and then also going down in the 1/8 dosage. So tonight when I take my dosage of medication, I'll officially be 1/2 way there. So 1/2 of the way off the medications, which is great news. And I feel more like I want to really do this because of that letter and how annoying it is just to have everything that I said pretty much denied, because it is best practice, and that is a pretty crappy practice, I'm sorry to say. And so if I can come off these drugs, that would be the best way. Instead of trying to fight that system, just transcend it. Just end the trance of that system. And so that's the plan now, is to go down 1/8 of the medication, and then on Wednesday when I get the amino acid product, I'll start taking that. And they said when I call on Friday, I might do another 1/8 reduction. So I might be starting to come off the medications a little bit quicker. And the other cool thing is that tonight will be the first night I don't take any Seroquel. I've been taking 1/8 of a chunk of a pill for a little while, and now tonight I'm not going to take any Seroquel. I'm going to take half a trazodone and 300 milligrams of lithium. And it hasn't been too bad, and hopefully it continues that way, and hopefully that other product helps. I'm really going with this Hardy Nutritionals process right now. Whatever they recommend that I should get, I'm going to do it, because I'm just committed to this process. And talking with them really helps. They say things about how other people experience these sleep things when coming off the medication, and that's a little bit part of the process. And it wasn't even that bad. It's just something that I noticed. And then by telling them that, they're saying, okay, well, we're going to reduce your medications by another 1/8. So that's cool. And the letter was crap. I could have written it myself, because it's just, I don't know. So I'll do a little bit of a car review in here. This Chevy Volt is actually quite nice to drive. I've driven somebody's Honda Accord here, and it was not the greatest, but it was a bit older. And then I drove a Dodge Dart, I think, when I had a rental car. And it was okay, but it wasn't the greatest. I didn't love it. But this Chevy Volt is quite nice. It has good acceleration and good handling. The seat's a little hard, but I feel quite supported. And I haven't tried out charging the battery yet, because I ran out of battery. It runs 33 miles on electricity before it converts over to gas. So I'm going to try to charge this thing every night and then have 33 miles a day of driving, maybe, and just drive for free. So I've just done a little bit of a loop here because I've I'm supposed to be meeting my friend again because when he got this car, they were supposed to put new tires on for him, but they didn't. And so he has to take this thing to get new tires, or I could drive it to get new tires, but he said he would, so I didn't have to drive so far. He's in a little bit of the magic zone right now, and I feel like by the way I was talking with him yesterday, I was probably a buzzkill for sure. So hopefully I can be a bit more supportive and perhaps walk a little bit in his world too, because maybe he'll bring out some of the magic in me. And yeah, the trouble with my magic state is it a lot of times tips over into so-called psychosis, which can be really scary, and my life is at risk when that happens. If I never had my life at risk, if I just stayed in mania or whatever, then who knows. And I asked Hardy Nutritionals if the nutrients help to prevent mania, and they said yes, because I don't want to go too high either, because if I get too high, then I could perhaps have a depression or something, and depression is awful. It's 12:30. I better give my magic friend a call and see what is going on. So now that I have a car, I can go more to the hot springs. I could do a couple more hikes. I did this hike before, the one where I ran through the clouds. I kind of like that one because it's a fire road and it's quite wide, so I don't feel like a snake is going to jump out at me or bears are going to be running around. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like to hike by myself, is wildlife, fear of wildlife. So yeah, lots of action happening, and I started reading the book Stealing Fire by Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel, and it's interesting so far. I've been picking out points to extrapolate, of course. And one thing I don't love is how they glorify things like war and Navy SEALs and things. It seems like they glorify that, but they talk about other things too, but they started off with that. Maybe to start off with a bang, but I wish they would leave that part out. When they mention how it costs $500,000 to train a Navy SEAL, it's kind of scary that much money is put into training one person to be an elite killing machine. And that doesn't even count all the equipment and all the other war machines. But anyways, I won't go on about that. Peace, love, and butterflies. This is kind of a fun road to drive. It's very squiggly. This car is also very quiet. Right now I'm using the gasoline mode, and I'm pretty sure I could talk to myself without using this little speaker headphone, and it would be just fine. I might stop off at a viewpoint here. Call my brain twin. So I didn't manage to run into my brain twin, but I spent some time with my brain twin's friend and I got some honey. Sage honey, it's really good. And it's in the shape of a bear. So that is definitely a score. Definitely worth the drive. And I took a bit of a video yesterday about my journey to walk the slack line, and I didn't do any today because it's a bit rainy, so it would be muddy and dirty to fall off that slack line. So I will do it when I can, but I will share my progress on that too. Day 2. I'll try some more later. And the other thing I want to do is do the ceremony of reducing my medication, so changing the amounts I take each day. So I'll show you my setup. So this is very scientific. I have used an empty capsule of a different supplement to half my 150 milligrams of lithium. So there's 75 approximately in here and 75 in here. So those are all 75s. So this is a 300 and this is a 75. And now I'm down to 300. So I don't need to take the 75. So I can save that for when I have to go down 75 milligrams. I'll be on a 150 and one of these, I think. That will be the next level down. So I don't need those. But they're actually valuable because I need to always decrease in 75 milligram doses. And so those are for next round. And then I don't need the little chunk of Seroquel anymore. So that goes with the little Seroquel chunks. And then this is the little piece of, this looks like Seroquel. This is my little chunk of trazodone. So trazodone chunks go there. That looks like some kind of mixture. So I will just donate that to the floor. So now I'm off the Seroquel and I'm off the little chunk extra of trazodone. So now each day I'm just on this. What is that? And So I can pack up the Seroquel, and that looks like it's missing a bit, so I'll replace that with one that's actually a half. And so now this is what it looks like for tonight. And I take the Benadryl as well. So that's my setup. And then I'll take one Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. And then by Friday, I might actually have to reduce and do a 150 plus a 75 and not use the 300s. And I don't have a ton of 150s left, so I might start halving the 300s for the 150 and use the 150 halves as 75s. So that's my little setup, and get this little dust out of here. Don't want to take that extra stuff. And so we will see how that goes tonight. I just want to add in and point out that I left for California 3 months ago today. So tomorrow it'll be 3 months since I got here. And tonight will be the first night I don't have to take any Seroquel, since I had to start taking it about 2 months ago or something like that. And so that's a big deal. And in 5 days, it will be 11 months of self-dialogue. May 20th is the first anniversary of 11 months, and June 20th will be the first anniversary of 1 year. But I said that September 11th was the time that I started doing this more consistently, because I only did videos on 4 occasions from June 20th to September 11th, or something like that. But then after that, I really got into the process. So it's possible by the 1 year mark, June 20th, at this rate, I'll actually be off of my medications. So my goal, if I had a goal, was to talk myself out of the system. And if I'm able to do that by that date, I will have officially talked myself out of the system in a year. And then on September 11th, around that time, that would be enough time to see if it has fully taken root in being able to stay off the medications for several months. So I'm not sure when I will share this, and I think there was another milestone I wanted to share, but I forget. So I'm starting to read a book called The Man Who Wasn't There. And I've been reading the first chapter on Cotard syndrome, which is basically a person expressing that they're dead, even though they're not. And they're talking about a man who is saying that he's brain dead. And they did some scans of his brain, and there are certain areas of his brain related to the self that were really underactive. And they weren't saying that this means this is the cause, but they did show it in that person, and there's not a lot of people who get this kind of phenomenon happening. But I was reading it and thinking, this person is convinced and saying, I'm brain dead, I'm brain dead. In a way, they're kind of right. Certain areas of their brain aren't functioning optimally, and the parts related to the feeling of self, because this book is about the feeling of self. So what I'm thinking is that this person is actually giving voice to that brain state. So they're focusing on how a person is saying that they're dead when they're not, and what does this mean about the self? But to me, in a way, it's almost like the brain talking. And I've talked about before how we don't know how to make sense of some of these sensations we feel whether it's hypersensitivity to our environment and other people. And it's possible that our own brain can speak through us at times when it needs some kind of help. And to me, it's a person speaking as that brain state. Just as somebody who is in so-called psychosis might be saying strange things, but they might be speaking about things related to being sensitive to the environment, but they don't know how to put it into words. So they're saying something, but a lot of it is lost in translation. And again, we don't understand that language, so we're focused on what's wrong with the person. When the person that's saying I'm brain dead, it might be the brain's way of giving voice to something that needs some kind of support. And a person saying something strange in so-called psychosis might be actually pointing out something in society that is bothering them or needs to change, but then we put it all on the person and say, well, what's wrong with you? I just thought of something about the self. I feel like the self is the way the brain fires because of conditioning. It's the way we've been conditioned to perceive the world. So it's been conditioned to fire and for us to see the world the dominant way. But it's not the only way to see the world, and the brain definitely needs to see the world in new ways. The human brain needs to see the world in new ways if it is to continue in this world.